Hey, hardcore Minecraft. One mistake and it's all over. This is a new trend that's been blowing up lately and I wanted to try it for myself. My goal isn't to beat the game or get far ahead, but rather to take it at my own pace and learn from this experience. So I made a new world, loaded up hardcore, and that's where we start. 100 days begins now. On day 1, I started to mine this tree. Afterwards, I made basic tools. I spotted a village not too far from my spawn, so I headed in that direction. The village was pretty boring, so I got hay bales for food. I was deciding whether to build my house in this overhang. If there's one thing I needed, it was to not take damage, which is exactly what I did here. I saw a ruined portal over this hill, so I made my way in that direction. The loot was actually pretty useful for my first day on hardcore. I got a decent chestplate and a golden apple. I stared into the sunset as day 1 came to an end, while day 2 just began. I saw a much better overhang that was next to the village, so this is where I settled to build my house. I had to chop down all the trees on the hill if I wanted to have a good build space. Once again, I stare into the sunset as day 2 comes to an end. I started day 3 off by chopping down the rest of the trees that I didn't chop down the day before. Once that was done, I started to heavily terraform the area to build my house. Day 3 was a very productive day. On days 4 to 6, I started to construct the design of my house. Those were very productive days and I got a lot more done than I expected. Day 7, I started to expand the land so I could have a little bit more space to build my house. At this point, I was pretty much done with the main base. After the base, I started to work on the walls, which would be made of stripped birch wood. I finally moved my main priorities in. Day 7 finally came to an end. At the start of day 8, I started getting a bunch of logs. I found a small cave system that I definitely wasn't going to go in. But I got my first piece of iron and I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. Obviously a shield. Later in the day, I started to work on the roof. Night was rushing over, so I had to continue the next day. I was able to get a lot of the roof done, but getting materials took up a lot of the day. Day 10, I finally finished the roof. I went out to go get wood for the lower pillars of the house. This is where I was planning to keep my farm. Day 10 finally comes to an end, and this is where day 11 and 12 meet. I started the new day by starting the lower section of the house. Then this cave got me really curious, so I decided to go down in it. I decided why not get some ores while I'm down there. As I went down lower, I spotted a mine shaft that I kinda wanted to go in. I decided to go down in it anyway, just to see if it had anything interesting. The only thing I could really get right now was iron and coal, so that's what I did. I saw a monster spawner, so I lit it up just in case if I needed it for later. As I was leaving, I immediately regretted going in the first place, as I was getting attacked by a cave spider. I thought I could outrun it, but I was wrong, so I ate the golden apple to ensure I wouldn't die. I'm kind of disappointed that I ate the golden apple since the spider was pretty much a one-shot. I of course went back down there and got another golden apple, but as I was fighting the skeleton, a creeper came behind me and almost killed me. I finally came to my senses and left the cave and went back home. I started day 13 by smelting up all the iron that I collected from the cave. I thought it was about time to make iron tools if I was going to do anything like that ever again. After making tools and armor, I started to work on the farm just a little bit more. I stole some crops from the village so I can use it for my farm. Day 14, I started to light up the farm. I was able to finish the entire farm later that day, adding pumpkins, melons, and sugarcane. Day 15, I started off by chopping a lot of birch wood. Afterwards, I manipulated this villager to be trapped in my house. He was a pain, but I eventually got him. I looked at his trades and I wasn't really impressed. At the end of the day, I finished up filling all the empty slots in my farm. Days 16 and 19, I thought it'd be a good idea to make my own mine. Once I got a certain Y level, I started building a staircase down into a Y level I wanted. As I was digging the staircase, I heard a lot of zombie noises, so I started digging around and I found a monster spawner. As I was trying to kill the zombies just kept coming and wouldn't stop, and I was a little shocked. After I killed all the zombies, I lit up the spawner to make sure no more zombies would spawn. After going deeper in the cave, more zombies spawned, and this was a failed attempt at escaping. For some reason, these zombies just couldn't jump over this block, so I took advantage of it and just killed them from distance. I went up to where the zombies came from, and there were just more mobs there. The slime balls that I got could be useful for later though. I tried clearing out all lava that I spotted so I wouldn't accidentally fall in it. Not too far from where I was before, I spotted my first vein of diamonds. It was a pretty decent vein of 6 diamonds, so I was pretty happy with what I got. And right next to the diamonds, I accidentally found some gold. I went back to where my entrance was and started digging a 4x4 tunnel. Remember when I said I was going to prevent myself from falling in lava? That didn't last too long. I'm glad I reacted fast because that could have killed me. My tunnel dug through a ravine, and that's where I found my second batch of diamonds. This was an 8 vein, so I was more than happy with what I got. I went further into the ravine and found more diamonds. A little afterwards, I went back into my entrance and started to strip mine in different directions. Not too long after strip mining, I found more diamonds. I feel like I was really lucky with this one. Further down that same tunnel, I heard lava, so I started to mine where I heard it, and I found more diamonds. I swear, the gods were on my side this day. I made a lot of progress these few days, so I started to collect all the goodies that I got from the mine, and then I headed back up. Once I came back up, I started sorting out all the resources that I got. At the end of the day, I collected the crops I had grown from my farm. Day 20 started out by marking day 20. I went up to the villager that I had trapped days before and decided to trade wheat with him. I don't think it was necessary to buy this many cookies, but I just wanted to level him up. I started smelting up a lot of the cobblestone that I got from the mine so I can work on terraforming the outside of my house. Once some of the cobblestone was done smelting, I began going to work. Once the day came to an end, I took a big step back and I was actually pretty proud of how it turned out. Day 21 started out by me adding small details that I could always change later. I took another big step back and I was really happy with how it turned out. Towards the end of day 21, I collected all the wheat that I had gotten and traded with my villager. Day 22, I started clearing out a lot of space so I could work on my next project. I began mining grass not only for the dirt, but also to flatten the area. Once everything was cleared out, I started building the shape underground. Towards the end of the day, I gathered up all the wheat that I had and traded it with my villager. Day 23, I walked out to see a bunch of creepers all over my property. After waiting a little while, they all despawned. For the rest of the day, I finished up mining the area that I had. Day 24, I finished up the shape that I made and I was very proud of it. It took all day mining the area out again, so the sun was already pretty low. Before I went to sleep, I refreshed the whole farm. Day 25, I got my first ender pearl while trying to mine some logs. I was gonna need a lot of spruce wood if I was gonna make the interior of my new project look nice. Mining logs took all day, so at the end of the day, I traded all of the emeralds that I had for bread. Day 26, I started by replacing all the stone walls with wood. I was smelting stone to make stone bricks for the bottom layer of the wall. I finished off the day by slabbing off the roof. Day 27, I started by making hallways for the villager stations. Day 28, I made farmer stations as these would be easier to trade with. Here's another jump cut of me chopping a bunch of logs. At the end of the day, this farmer villager tried to escape from me and I wasn't having it. Day 29, this farmer was being a real pain and I just wanted to put the misery out of him. But I decided to spare him and trap him as my own farmer villager forever. This was the first time that I had seen a wandering trader in 30 days. His offers were horrible, so I sent him to the grave. This villager was being an idiot and got the wrong job, so I had to break all the barrels. I don't know why, but this villager kept following me, so I took advantage of it and trapped him. This villager was a pain to trap, but I eventually got him. Before the day came to an end, I started mining out the villager breeder room. Days 31 to 32, I tried to find these flowers to make in a dye for the breeder room. While on the search, I spotted this cow. Oh yeah, he's valid.
No.
I finished up the breeding room by adding walls and a roof. Day 33, I added beds to the room as this would be necessary for breeding. I tricked this villager thinking he was going to be a hide-paid farmer, but in fact he was going to be a hide-paid actor. I was also able to trick this villager into becoming a top tier adult actor. I went back to my farm to collect crops so the villagers can breed. I added a dispenser with food in it connected to a lever so I can control the baby making. It turns out that these villagers just weren't compatible and I was really disappointed. On day 34 they were trying to work it out, but I don't think it was working. These villagers kept trying to go to this barrel, so I broke it and yeah. I caught the villagers trying to make love once again, but I was right, they just weren't compatible. I decided to move this farmer villager in to try to help the situation. Luckily, this villager is fairly easy to move, so it didn't take that long at all. I finally decided it was time to move the villager from my house out to the new villager farm. He was really easy to move and was about to have the best time of his life. Day 36, the skeleton tried to infiltrate my villagers. I heard baby villagers in the chamber, so I went to go look and there were actually baby villagers in there. So this is how I knew that the breeding was actually working. Every single day of this hardcore world, I've been emojing off my house and this is a failed attempt. I actually took more damage than I expected, so I made sure to look out for my health in the future. I checked back down in the base and both baby villagers got trapped in the boat. I made my first diamond pickaxe here so I could get some obsidian to build a nether portal. The scariest part is always dropping down into the mine, but I came down here to mine obsidian. I didn't really have any good place to build the portal, so I decided to build it here. When I spawned in the nether, I pretty much spawned in the worst biome you could possibly spawn in. Luckily, I spawned in this overhang so mobs couldn't attack me. So technically, I wasn't unlucky. The only reason why I came here in the first place was to mine glowstone for the villager farm. Curiosity got to the best of me, so I explored the nether a little bit and I decided it wasn't a good idea. Day 38, I got another villager trapped in a boat and I was pretty shocked. Later that same day, I got my first friend in the world. So I decided to go explore the area around me a little bit. Not too long after going through the spruce woods, I found a snow biome. Luckily, I brought a bed with me, so I had to sleep in the open. Day 39, I crossed over some mountains and found a jungle. I decided why not break these leaves and try to get a sapling so I could bring it home. After exploring the outskirts of the jungle, I found the jungle temple. Since this is my first hardcore world, I wanted to treat the world as it was meant to be, so this is why I did the puzzle. After doing the puzzle, I went through the dispensers, clearing out all the arrows and got the loot from the chest. I was able to safely make it back home before the day came to an end. On day 40, I was in need of iron, so went back down to the mine to get some more iron. It took all day, so afterwards I went back up to my house to smelt it all. Day 41, I successfully landed this water clutch and took out the skeleton. Afterwards, I went back up to my house to collect some of the iron that I had smelted. I water clutched again and there was another skeleton in the same spot, so I also took him out. Now I started mining out the areas that I was going to use for the actual villager farms. Afterwards, I started sorting out villagers in their workstations. Towards the end of the day, I was figuring out what crops I was going to use for the farms. Day 42, I mined coal. I thought it'd be more efficient if I were to make 4 farming boxes, so that's what I did. Day 44, it seemed like my farm turned into an actual village since iron golems started to spawn. I went back up and decided which crops were going to be in which squares. Day 45, I started to transfer the baby villagers into their future workstations. A big inspiration for me making this hardcore video is PewDiePie's hardcore series. It really caught my attention and I wanted to see it for myself. One other thing that caught my attention was his villager farm created by Mr. Cat. Big shout out to him, a lot of this world is me creating this farm. Hardcore is super underrated and I highly recommend it. Just thought I'd mention that. Day 46, I went back to the nether to get some more glowstone. Lag really screwed me over here, making me accidentally fall into lava. The damage was delayed, so I decided to eat a golden apple just in case I was gonna die. This was the closest that I've been to dying and I'm really relieved that I didn't. I went back home and it was still laggy, so I just relogged. Towards the end of the day, I finished adding these glass walls to protect the villagers. Day 47, the villagers went to baby making. After the villagers were done breeding, I started making the sections where the villagers would drop off any extra crops they have. I went back down and I saw that the villagers were still making love. Once again, I captured their child as my very own. Towards the end of the day, I made more stations where the villagers would drop off their crops. Days 58 and 59, I started patching extra spots I may have missed. I figured it was time to clear my farm so I can move it down to the new farm. Oh, and I also made an anvil so I can repair some of the tools that I just didn't want to break yet. Before day 50 starts, I wanted to say if you made it this far, I appreciate you. This video took hours upon hours to record and edit, and I wanted to say thank you. If you are here and are still not subscribed, then I highly recommend you to, because not only does it help me, but lets me know you, the viewer, enjoy this type of content. And if you do, it means the world. To me. Well, that's all I had to say. 50 days down, another 50 to go. On day 50, I gaze over my balcony as I admire my villager farm. I successfully water clutched, but I was a little ticked off that the water just went everywhere. Once I went back down to the villagers, I started to transport them through boats and pistons. After transporting all the villagers, I pretty much had every villager in the spot that I needed them to be in. I was pretty motivated that I decided to fix up the floor a bit. On day 51, I started off by finishing up the floor. I figured it'd be a good idea to have a proper entrance, so that's what I did. I started making an entrance with stairs. Once I was done with that, I started adding little details that brightened up the place. And once again, the villagers got to making love. On days 52 to 54, I started mining a bunch of logs. Afterwards, I went back down into the mine. I decided I was going to get more iron since I was in need of it, and then all of a sudden a creeper almost killed me. After a little exploring, I found a spider spawner that could become useful later. I returned back from the mine later that night to sort out all the resources that I collected. The next day, I water clutched again to go down to the villager farm. After doing some work down there, I went back up to my house to create an enchantment table. After making the enchantment table, I decided it was time to make my first set of diamond armor that I can enchant later on. I collected all the crops that the villagers had got for me so I can trade them. I was trading a lot so I could try to get a bunch of emeralds to upgrade other villagers later on. On day 55, the villager farm was fully functional and complete. Whenever a villager's inventory gets filled up with crops, they come to the other villager in between the gaps and give it to them. That's how the crops go into the chest. I spent the whole day of day 56 chopping wood. On days 57 to 60, I started to expand the tunnel as well as adding more stations. I started to create more farmers so I could trade my crops to them, but I waited till they had the correct crop. Unfortunately, while I was trying to expand my villager stations, one of the villagers up top actually died to a zombie. The next day, I made sure to replace the villager and put blocks behind them to protect them from zombies or other mobs. I was running around my world trying to explore the area a bit when I looked at my house and I really thought how pretty it was. On day 60, I figured it was time to venture out to an area that I've never ever explored before. I found a ruined portal, and after I looted it, my world started to get a little laggy, so I had to relog again. On day 61, I found another ruined portal, but I didn't really care too much for the loot. In the same day, I found another ruined portal not too far from the last one. Days 62 to 64, I ventured out to the ocean. I really thought I could bring my horse on the boat, and I really tried, but I just had to leave him behind. Another reason I decided to go explore the ocean was to find underwater ravines, as diamonds would be much easier to find. I had found a treasure map, and instead of digging for ages trying to find the treasure, I used a technique I learned from Phil's of Minecraft. And with that technique, I was able to find the treasure with just a few digs. I went back in a bunch of underwater ravines and I just mined for diamonds. I don't know if it's just me or if it's actually the game, but I feel like diamonds are a lot more common if they're found in underwater ravines. If anybody knows the answer, I would love to know. On day 64, I decided to head back to shore to try to find my horse. I spotted him over the shoreline and he was still in the exact same place that I left him in. Me and my horse stared into the sunset, savoring the moment before we headed back home. On day 65, I started to make my way back home. Not too long after, I was able to make it safely back home. I sorted out all the loot that I had collected from the shipwrecks, the treasure chests, and the ravines. I figured it was about time to start making bookshelves for my enchantment table. I watched the sunset over my balcony as day 65 comes to an end. Day 66, I start making a room for my enchantment table. I really hated to do this, but I was going to have to kill all these horses for their leather if I was going to make a maxed out enchantment table. Days 67 to 74, I started putting villagers in workstations. After sorting the villagers that I already had, I started to make new villagers. I figured it was a good idea to get an armor if I wanted to trade diamond armor when I level him up. After a little trading with him, I was able to get the first half of a full set of diamond armor. After that, I was able to get the full set of diamond armor. I just couldn't purchase it all yet. A little later on, I was able to buy the chest plate. All I needed was the helmet. I felt pretty good upgrading my iron armor to almost max diamond armor. I took my horse out to the plains biome to try to fight this enderman, thinking I could take him on, but he absolutely bodied me. I also figured I could adventure with my horse just a bit more so I could get used to the area around me. After a little exploring, I found a small pathetic flower forest. At least I found an area to get flowers. Afterwards, I went back home to refresh my crops. Once I turned the sugarcane into paper and the paper into books, I was able to make my fully maxed enchantment table. On top of that, I was able to purchase the last piece of armor from the armorer. I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot how good it feels to have enchanted diamond armor. Thank God I learned from my mistake and placed blocks behind the villager, or else this zombie could have got to him. I figured it was time to put that zombie spawner to use. I went back down to the mine and made it an XP farm. I completely lost track of what day it was, so I went to check what day it was, and I guess it's day 72. I completely forgot that the zombie spawner was active, so I accidentally left a hole in the wall where zombies were spitting out. Once I patched up the hole and cleared the zombies, I sat at the XP farm collecting their XP. On day 75, it made a lot more babies. I figured it was time to make a full set of diamond tools, so I got each number of diamonds for each tool. I figured since I have a level 30 enchants, I was gonna enchant my sword, and I got really lucky with looting 3 on it. I didn't enchant any of my other tools since I didn't have level 30 and I wanted the max level for each tool. Afterwards, I thought it'd be a lot more efficient to build a second layer for the villager farm. Days 76 to 77, I went back to the nether. I thought I'd explore a little bit through a tunnel that I made earlier. After hundreds of blocks of exploring the same biome, I just killed some magma cubes so I could get some fire res potions. I decided to head back to the overworld since the nether was completely boring just being the same biome. Day 78, I captured the baby that the villagers had made for me. I then started to enchant books, hoping that I would get a good enchantment that I could use later on. Days 79 to 86 were all about working on the second layer of the villager farm. After quite a lot of time of working on the back farms, I was almost able to get both of them done. All I really needed to do was add the villagers and place the crops. I went to go mine a bunch of oak logs to make fences for the second layer. After completing the back 2 layers, I started on working the front 2 layers. I figured it was a better idea to start leading villagers in the back 2 layers than later on. The next day, I started placing the same crops as the layer underneath it. I pretty much took up the whole day trying to gather enough crops to place down. I was finally able to get a librarian villager, and his first trade was fire aspect, so I decided to buy it. The second villager next to him had mending on his first try as well. Obviously, I was going to buy it since mending is one of the most useful books in the game. Days 87 to 88, I tried getting villagers to the top layer. These villagers were trying to breed, but luckily they weren't compatible for each other. I decided to use the mending book on my sword, but unfortunately, that was the anvil's last life. Once again, I lost track of what day it was, so I checked to see what day it was, and it was day 87. For some odd reason, I thought it'd be a good idea to go back down into the mine shaft and try to find something that I didn't find before. I don't really know why I thought this was a good idea, but when I came back up to the surface, I was pretty disappointed. On day 89, the villager farm was 100% complete and fully functional. I was really proud of the hard work that had gone into this farm. I was even more proud that I was able to survive this long in hardcore. For the rest of day 89, I went around my farm to see if there was anything I needed to do. For these last 10 days, I really wanted to AFK so I could get more crops to trade with. I also didn't want to progress too far as I really wouldn't need to. Days 90 to 91, I started to terraform the back of my house just a little bit more. I was really happy with how it turned out, but I was also really lazy to do the rest. Hopefully if this video does good, I could do another 100 days and I could maybe finish it. Days 92 to 94, I sat in my AFK box waiting for crops to come in. I also had bamboo planted at the top of my house, so I was also waiting for that. I really underestimated how much bamboo I placed before because I got a load of bamboo breaking it. I was getting a little impatient, so I decided to go back to the nether for netherite hunting. I wanted at least one piece of netherite. After some safe exploding, I was able to get my first piece of netherite. After more safe exploding, I headed up from the mines and I had exactly enough for one piece of netherite. I went back to the overworld and started smelting it. After smelting it, I crafted my first piece of netherite. On day 95, I came to the conclusion to use a netherite on my sword. It was honestly the best decision since my sword was pretty good. Days 96 to 98, I sat in my AFK box the entire time. As day 99 was coming to an end, I decided to check on everything to make sure everything was functional. This is the most fun that I've had in survival Minecraft in a long time. My horse and I watch the sunset as day 99 comes to an end and the night rises. As I watch the sun rise to day 100. If you made it to the end of this video, I wanted to give you a huge thanks. It really helps my channel grow, giving me more opportunities to do things like this. If you could, I ask that you consider subscribing to my channel. This video took 33 hours to record and definitely more to edit, so if you could, I would really appreciate it. Hopefully I'll be able to do another 100 days on the same world or possibly in a different scenario. Anyways, I appreciate you watching.